Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Joey Dots. This is the Daddy podcast. Today is April 9th, 2024, and I am here with Alex Badger, aka DonDottaz, all the way out in the United Kingdom. What's up, Alex?
I'm good, thank you, Joey. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for coming on. I know it's like 8 o'clock over there. It's about 3 o'clock here. We had a couple. We tried to get on different times. Some issues came up, but I'm glad we kind of made it happen.
Definitely.
So, Alex, you were in the middle of England, like kind of towards the top.
Yeah, kind of middle. Yeah, definitely.
Is that where you grew up? Where'd you grow up?
In Sheffield? It is the obviously the middle of England. I've lived here all my life.
Okay, so that's where you went to high school and everything?
Yeah.
What was it like growing up in England?
It's good, man. Where I grew up, we didn't have any trouble. We could play out back in them days with no problems. We could come back when the street lights came on. There were no violence, really. Nothing to worry about. Not like these days. I've got a son. He's never been able to play out. My daughter's never been able to play out. Things have changed now. So it's a different world we live in. It
really is, and that's a shame. Because I think about that too. It's like my son's only 3, and he just plays in the front street, in a little cul-de-sac. But eventually, just like you, when I was growing up, I would just leave for hours. My mom had no idea where the hell I was, and I'll just come back eventually.
We never got into big trouble. We were allowed to do what we wanted, and we used to just go out and play and make the most of it. But like I said, these days, he never knows what it's like to play out. I keep him active in his gym. That's all he knows. But I don't think he understands. It's just not safe anymore.
It's not. And you're doing what you're supposed to do as a dad. You're making sure. And it sucks because you don't want to scare them, right? You don't want to put a bunch of fear into the kids. But you also have to be realistic about the situation.
Exactly. They think I'm too overprotective, and they say when they have kids that they're not going to be like that. But obviously, I tell them that when you do have kids, you'll appreciate everything that I've said and done.
Agreed. Agreed. How old are your kids? You said you have a son and a daughter?
Yeah, my son's 12 and my daughter's 17.
17, okay. And are you married?
I'm not married, but I've been together for like 20 years now.
Wow. I think that's still considered legally married, right?
As far as it goes, I'd say I am married, but just not legally.
Okay. And
something that I don't really believe in.
Oh, I tell my friends who are not married, I said there's no real reason to get married unless
you're religious.
Religious, or if there's some type of if the person's sick and somebody has better health insurance, maybe. Other than that, but if you can afford your house without having you can still put a cosigner on.
We don't have to pay those medical bills like you do out there if someone gets sick.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference.
That's true. That's the UK got that on the US for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I've been to London, but it was just like I did tourist shit. I didn't go up to where you're at. I wanted to ask you something. Being in England your whole life, did you ever go to, I guess, the tourist sites, things like that?
You're at school, they take you to see London, the Big Ben and iconic places. But so I just stay in my own bubble. We do his own thing here.
That makes sense. I mean, that's the same with us. They take us on, like when I was 4th, 5th grade, they take you down to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is like 2.5 hours from me. You do the whole thing, go to museums, shit like that.
It always amazes me when I see guys from Florida. Jesse Lima, he's always flying around and he's seeing the sights, what obviously I see. Why would he want to do that if he's in Florida? But it is what it is, obviously, experiencing it.
I know what you mean.
Me, I'd rather, I'd rather be in Florida than in UK, but it's what it is.
You're right. It's like, and even people who live in like Hawaii, right? It's like, why? But if that's all you kind of know, you want to see different. If all you know is like palm trees, beaches, you want to kind of see something a little bit different. But I agree with you. If you live in, I think Delaware is kind of similar to UK. It gets cold, it gets rainy. Very similar with the seasons.
I see you out there at 4:50 getting in your ice bath.
I know. I'm hoping that it does something. At minimum, it wakes my ass up. You know what I mean? On the in regards to you being in London, do you go over to Ireland a lot? Is it like a boat? Because I didn't see any trains, but maybe they're underground. I don't know.
Obviously, it's over the water, so you'd need to catch a boat or a flight. I've never been to Ireland.
And what about down? Do people go to Belgium and those areas a lot?
Yeah, so if you drive to the south of England to Dover, you can get to France. It's only like 20 miles, 26 miles over English Channel. So it's literally easy to get to France from. Yeah.
Wow.
It's really close. But to get there for me, it's 4 or 5 hours drive.
Okay. Alex, so what did you do? Or first, let me back up. You said you have your son in the gym. What does he do? You have him working out at 12, or is he doing martial arts?
Yeah, he's boxing.
Oh, okay.
He's boxing. Obviously, when I was younger, I was into boxing a lot. All my story starts out, and I used to cut my little brother's hair. I used to put him little patterns and lines in his hair. He used to go to school, and all the other kids would be like, "Oh, where have you got this?" And they all used to want to come. So they used to get their mums to give them money to go to barbers, and they used to come to mine, and I used to pattern them all up, and we used to split the money, and obviously buy sweets and do us bikes up, and that's how it started, me cutting hair, and then it just progressed, and then I used to take my clippers to school, and so even back in them days, I was making like £7, which is not a lot now, but at the time it were a lot of money. Everybody were walking around with lines in their hair and looking fresh. And then I just built a name for myself. Everybody used to want to come and get their hair cut. And that's where I found my passion, for cutting hair. And his son, but he'll buy mannequin heads and he'll want to cut them and he'll want to braid them and twist them. It's like it's in his DNA. He loves it.
That's great. So did you just figure that out on your own, the lines and stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. I never had any training or anything. I just used to obviously do people. I just got better and better. And exactly the same with SMP. That's another story. But from obviously growing up, cutting hair, boxing, and I always wanted to be a professional. And I obviously boxed through the amateurs, and I were a good prospect. And I had the worst skin you could ever imagine, like real bad acne all over my chest, my back. It were a terrible thing. They said I was 1 in 10 million how bad I was. As a kid, I always used to think, when I grow up, obviously it'll go by the time I need to turn pro. Because when you're boxing in amateurs, you wear a vest, obviously, and I could cover it up. And when it got to the early 20s, when they were saying you need to turn pro, now I couldn't bring myself to do it under the light. I was so paranoid about my skin. So that kind of blew that dream away. And I got years and years into it. And then a couple of years after that, well, not even a couple of years, maybe a year after that, my brother died in an accident when he was 18.
Oh my God.
So
I'm sorry.
that kind of set me really back. And I went off the rails a little bit. And lost track of everything. But then I was working. I'm always been good with my hands. I can do anything I put my hands to, basically. I used to do bathrooms, kitchens, and I was lucky enough one time to work at a house who had a daughter who I took a shine to straight away. And obviously we got together after a couple of years and we've been around them. And a few years later, we had a daughter, and we've been together all that time since. Obviously, we've got 2 kids now. I got thrown into having to buy a house and a mortgage. I'd put everything into my boxing. So to obviously go from that to having to pay for a mortgage and find money, it was hard. And I did some jobs, worked in factories, just doing whatever you have to do to get by. I started to lose my hair. And I can remember one day, everybody was saying, oh, you're going thin on top, you're going thin on top. But I always used to be able to give myself the best fade, better than any barber I could go to. I could get 2 mirrors and fade up myself. And I used to obviously bald out the sides, trying to make it look like more on top than I did. I were in denial, I suppose, like we people are. And one time I seen myself in 2 mirrors in somebody's bathroom, and I seen that big horseshoe at the back, the big toilet seat horseshoe, and it devastated me. I couldn't believe how bad it works. I didn't know I'd been walking around like that. And I took a big razor out and I bicked it all off smooth. But because I'm light skinned and my hair were really dark, you could still see that pattern. And it bothered me, really bad. It did hit me hard. Like I said, a lot of people said hair loss is not a thing and it's a teenage thing. But you know yourself, hair loss hits people different and it hits people hard. And I was one of them, what it devastated me. So one night I was in the bathroom, there were a mascara on the side and I was messing about drawing a hairline on. And I just wondered to myself, what could I do to make this hairline stay on after I've been in a shower? This was 10 years ago. I didn't know anything about SMP. And I had an idea, if I got a pin, a really thin pin and some ink and made a few little dots on my head, would it look like a hair? So I found the finest pin I could find out at Sewing Box, and I bought some black ink off in some dynamic black tattoo ink. I made a few little dots. It looked good. I thought, shall I do it? I was like in 2 minds whether to do it or not. And a couple of weeks went past, and one night I just dealt with it, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a machine. I just had a pin and some ink, and I was dipping it in, and I was literally just stabbing away. And my girlfriend come downstairs and she saw it, and she said, to be fair, she went, it looks natural, it looked real. You could see a full hairline, full density. It looked good. But obviously I didn't know what I was doing. So all the little dots where I'd not gone in deep enough disappeared, and all the ones that I'd gone in too deep blew out, and I'd used the wrong ink, so they were going blue. I got big blue dots all over my head. So that was even worse than being bald. So I was back to covering up, wearing hats, not wanting to go out anywhere. People were saying, come to a wedding, come to a restaurant, and it ruined me. Another couple of years went by, and I was having some tattoos, and I got friendly with the guy, and I told him, and he's going, take your hat off. I was like really peeled it back like this slowly. He was laid on the floor laughing at me, saying, you mad, why have you done that? Why would you do that? Don't worry about it. We've got a laser upstairs. I'll take you upstairs and I'll get rid of it for you. And I said, can you do that? And he said, of course I can. And I had 3 sessions of laser, and he completely removed my SMP. Not even my SMP, my botched job what I'd done. So obviously I was back to wearing hats, covering up. And then another couple of years had gone past, and I found out SMP was actually a thing that you could get done. Back in them days, you could only get it done in London and Manchester. It was ridiculous money. I couldn't afford it. So I started thinking, shall I buy a machine? Shall I try again? Shall I try and do it properly this time? And I left it for a couple of years. And then in Sheffield, where I live, eventually another company popped up, and I seen a company, And I wasn't impressed with the work, to be fair. It looked like all the dots were in rows. But because they were only so close to me, I thought I'll go down and I'll have a consultation and have a chat about it and find out more. And when I got down there, I met a guy called Nick Jones. And I said, look, I've got a builder's eye and I've got an eye for detail, and I can tell that I want my SMP to look like it's in rows. And he said, this is not my work. This is the old guy's work. And he pulled his phone out and he showed me work. And I thought, yeah, let's go for it. So I had 3 sessions SMP, and I was kind of happy with it, but it didn't really bang like I wanted it to. It was kind of light, but because I got friendly with him, he invited me back to his house and he did me a couple more sessions, and we got it to where I wanted it to be. And I fell in love with it, you know. And I knew from that minute that if I knew how to do this properly, I would be the Don at SMP. That's just what I believed, you know, because obviously my barbering, you know yourself, if you've got that experience of barbering, you can look at a man and you can just tell where his hairline will suit him no matter what age he's at, whatever ethnicity he's at. You can, and that's obviously a gift I've got, that I can look at a man and know what's going to suit him. In my opinion, maybe people might not agree, but for me, I feel like that's my gift.
For sure. I mean, your work is really, really good, Alex. It's really good work. But you said a lot there, so I'm gonna backtrack.
And I didn't really give you a chance to breathe.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That was great. I love to hear the story. And so one of the things you said was you were boxing. You had been boxing your whole life, and then you realized my acne is terrible. I don't want to take my shirt off. So what was it like? Why was the acne so bad? Did you have some type of skin issue? Was it the sweating? Did you ever figure that out? What happened?
Yeah. So obviously at school, everybody used to sweat, and I never used to sweat. No matter how much exercise I do, I'd be bone dry. I'd never sweat. I never used to ever be able to sweat. And then when I was 14 and I'd gone to the class with my mum, got in the shower after, and I just noticed across my whole back and shoulders there were just millions of pimples, but tiny little goosebump pimples. And I showed my mum. She took me to the doctors, referred me to the hospital, and they put me on this medication which cures 99% of the people with that condition. But for some reason, for me, they put me on it and it made it worse. And then the blisters then were bursting, leaving big craters in my skin. So obviously it got so bad that I couldn't lay back, I couldn't sit down. I was just in limbo all the time. It was unbelievable. And I was under a few professors at the hospital in Sheffield, and they put me on anti-immunosuppressants. They tried everything. And eventually he said, after a couple of years, he said, I'm going to be honest with you, Alex, I've tried everything. There's nothing more I can do for you. But I know somebody in Harrogate, which is a couple of hours away, and he sent me up to see this lady called Dr. Layton, and she dealt with it. She put me on anti-inflammatory steroids, really high dose, and really low dose of the Roaccutane, what they said I were allergic to. And eventually she tapered one down and tapered the other one up, and it completely eradicated it for me. But by that time I was in my 30s. If I'd have known that back then, it might have been a different story.
So it went 15 years?
15 years. But it was up and down. I tried all different diets. I tried to just eat clean, and that kind of worked. But you never knew when it was going to come. It used to just come out of nowhere.
That's wild, man.
Fortunately, they said I was 1 in 10 million. They've done loads of case studies. You can tell how bad it was. Would it affect my kids like it affected me? Mm-hmm. You know, and my daughter got to about 14, and she started getting the stain on her chest, on her back, and I thought for a girl it's going to be even worse than for a boy. But I took her to the hospital, and obviously I explained to them my situation, and I pleaded with them to just obviously listen to what I've been through and give it to her, which they did, and it just nipped it in the bud for her. And within a couple of weeks, she's fine, and now she's 17. Her skin's perfect. So at
That's
least
great.
I know that my son, he's 12 now, and you know he's starting to get the odd little pimple on his face, but I know I can deal with it for him, or they can deal with it for him.
Yeah, you had to take the brunt of it, but you learned, and at least you're able to, you know, apply that to your kids. And that's so. Exactly. I'm guessing you had to have a strongly worded conversation with these doctors. They want to do everything else, and you were like, "No."
Yeah, because
look,
they didn't.
This is what I've been through.
Yeah. Once they pulled out my file, once I told them, and my file's this thick, they obviously had to listen. And I said, I mentioned the doctor, and she's to this day, I'll never forget that lady. I think she's retired now, but she is on of skin. You know, I ended up buying her she used to wear scarves, and I bought a scarf just to say thank you. She was amazing. I can't thank her enough, but I only wish I could have found her sooner, you know, and it might have been a different story. But then again, it wouldn't have been SMP I'm into, which is my absolute passion now. So whatever happens in life, it happens for a reason, I suppose.
I agree. And so then, you spent your life up into, you know, your early 20s boxing, and then you realize, you know, I'm not going pro.
Exactly.
And then you had to get a quote unquote real job, right? So what was that like?
It was bad, Joey. It was bad because I'd gone from living the dream. Do you know when people live in the gym?
Yeah.
They live in the gym. I actually did live in the gym because I had a flat. I didn't have any money, and I got evicted from a flat. And I used to sleep in the gym. Nobody knew I had my own key to the gym. So everybody used to go. I used to say, I'll lock up chairs, put them all together, get outside of the radiator, sleep in the gym. There were a kitchen, there were showers. I used to watch boxing tape. I was living the dream. And after 6 months, my coach found out, and he said, when you turn pro, he'll say, you actually really did used to live in the gym. So it was like a funny thing.
That's great. I mean, that sucks that you had to do that. It sucks you had to do that, but that's great that you're able to find him. Now, did he kick you out?
No, they didn't kick me out. They just said, obviously, keep it quiet. We didn't know you were doing it, obviously, but you're not supposed to be doing it. But what can they do? They're in a bad position. They knew me. They just let it ride. But when the time come to turning pro, they knew that I weren't going to follow it through. They were saying, just do the Olympics, go to the Olympics, because you can still make a lot of money and sponsorship deals, even if you go to the Olympics. But I'd kind of fell out with it by then. I just knew that it just weren't going to be what I wanted it to be. And I'm one of them what puts everything into whatever I'm doing. It's got to be everything or nothing. So I went away from it, and then obviously I got tied up and I started working in the job. And obviously that wasn't for me either, but I did it for years.
You got to do what you got to do, right?
Exactly. The irony is now that one of my old friends, Regan, who used to box with me back then, he went down the wrong path as well, because he'd been around the world with all the world champions back then, like lived the high life, made it himself. So it threw him off track, and he ended up on drugs and in prison. But while he were in prison, he decided he was going to get a gym and come out and help the youth not to go down them roads that we'd gone down. And all these years later, we've kind of met back up, and I'm a coach there at the gym. So I'm giving back the kids like he is. And my studio where I'm doing SMP is above the gym. So I'm absolutely buzzing with it. You know, everything's
Wait,
just...
you're saying your SMP studio is above the gym, like above a boxing gym?
Yeah. It's an old school. an old school where my friend got kicked out and they told him he'd never be anything. And obviously the school got abandoned for reasons and whatnot. And they ended up getting him back to look after the school years later to stop it getting vandalised. And we just kind of moved in, cleaned it all up, got the kids in. And now crimes and fires in Sheffield, in our area, which were the worst area in Sheffield, have gone down 70%. So it's an amazing thing. And obviously there's a lot of room there because it's an old school. And I was working from home when I started first doing SMP. So he kept saying, come, got a room, come upstairs. And I did a big room out up there and I've turned it into a nice studio.
So did he end up buying that old school, or like how did that happen?
So basically, because it got so much recognition from the police and the fire brigade, it's become pretty now. So it gets funded. Obviously, it's hard to get funding from government because they don't like to put their hands in the pockets, but we do get certain amounts of funding. And there's so many hundreds of kids what are coming in there, including my son, what have got an amazing opportunity now to live a better life than we did.
That's very cool, man. That is very, very good.
It's amazing.
That's great to hear. That, and you're helping the kids, not only in helping the community, and then you also you can advertise to the guys, right?
So basically, I've cured baldness in that gym. I have cured baldness. There's no bald guys in that gym now. Even from the older guys, what were like laughing at it at first, saying, you know how they are. You're an old guy. You're going bald. It is what it is. But all of them guys now have seen the next man with a nice hairline, and they've all converted, and I've dealt with them all. They've all got SMP.
That's great, man. That is great to hear.
I could take a picture with 20 of us on it with SMP, what I've done, which is amazing.
You definitely, at some point, the next time there's a big gathering, you should definitely get you in the middle with as many bald guys that you did, around you. How cool would that be?
I have actually got the pictures on my phone. I'll have to send them to you.
So you also said you decided to do SMP on yourself before you even knew about SMP. You physically took a pen, you were dipping it in ink, and then stabbing yourself in the head. And honestly, that's not the first time I've heard somebody do that, because I had people tattoo their own head, not the way you're describing it. But that's incredible. You basically thought up the idea. You just didn't know the technology was there. Maybe it wasn't.
Exactly. You could argue that I invented SMP, even though I know I didn't. But if I never knew anybody else, I would have had that idea. So it was just, that's how my brain works. It'll find a way. If there's a problem, it'll always find a way to get around it.
So when you started seeing it, people in London, was it like Paul Clark or the Team Micro, those guys initially? Were they the first people?
Team Micro, Scalp. I still get emails to this day on my phone, obviously, because I inquired
from Team Micro.
So many Team Micro, and am I still interested in getting a consultation? But they obviously don't know who they're talking to anymore. Yeah, but I don't reply to them.
Yeah.
Like I said to you before, I didn't have any money. I put all my eggs in one basket thinking I'm going to be rich from boxing. So it didn't matter. I used to live day to day, just however I could, just to eat. But I got the money to have my SMP done myself. I did inquire about getting training. But at the same time, I couldn't afford it. But the guy that did my head, Nick, I told you about, he said to me, a lot of people talk about getting into SMP because they think it's going to be easy money, and they know what they've paid and they think it's only dots on head, so we're going to get into it. But he said he'd never seen the level of passion and love that I brought to that conversation, which made him feel like he wanted to help me. So he invited me up to his house and he bought some melons and some bananas. And obviously, I didn't have any real training, but he showed me how to put dots on a melon and on a banana, and he even let me put a couple of dots on his head, you know, just to. He would have let me put a lot more on his head, but I knew after I'd put 2 or 3 dots on his head, I knew what to do, you know, and I didn't feel like I needed to put any more dots on his head. And I just ran with it. I was buying melons every single day from there. And they're not like the American melons where they're smooth and white, the yellow and wrinkly, the horrible melons, stuff like that. But I was buying that many melons. They were saying to me, "What are you doing with these melons?" What, like they were questioning why I was buying so many melons. And I told them, and people laugh at you. My family laughed at me when I told them. My son used to say, "Dad, why are you looking at old men on your phone all the time?" He couldn't get his head around why. Every time he saw me on my phone, I was looking at a bald guy, you know. But now, obviously, he understands. And my son's only 12, and I guarantee you, Joe, you could show him. You could show my son 10 top artists. You could pick 10 of your top artists, and he'd tell you which one they were just by seeing their work. That's how much passion I've brought, and he's with me. He knows, he sees it. He can tell who's done that work. It's incredible.
So you're saying your son, if you show your son, you've been educating him, showing him because you're so passionate about it. He could see the work and be like, "Oh, that looks Absolutely. Like Mark Allen."
Yeah, he can say that. He can say the top artists. Obviously, I fell in love with a few guys. I'll name them because I am passionate about it. I love the Scalp. Yeah, in America, obviously, I fell in love with the art of SMP.
Yeah.
And I knew when I was starting to get into this is a great story for you. But I remember watching his videos, and he used to put his hands on the guys who we were doing and say, I pray that I bless this guy to change his life. And that struck me. And when I was looking for an SMP machine, I saw the Art of SMP'S machine, and I sent him a message, and I said, "Brother, I want to buy this machine." And he said, I said, "I'm in the UK." He said, "You buy it, brother, as long as you pay the postage." So I said, "No problem." And I said, "One thing, when you send this machine, bless the machine." And I didn't know whether he would or whether he wouldn't. And I received the machine in the post. And he sent me an Instagram of himself saying, "I'm so thankful for this guy wanting to buy my machine, and I bless this machine. I wish him all the success so that he becomes a great artist, and he's got the confidence to put out great work, and he becomes successful." I couldn't believe it, you know. So I got his machine, and the first guy I ever did, he was an African guy that went for a consultation. He were only a poor student, and he didn't pay the price. And he said it's only dots on heads. And I think it kind of pissed the people off, and they said it's not just dots on heads, but there's a guy what's just starting out now, and if you feel like it's only dots on heads, he'll do it you for cheap. So he agreed to it. So I went and I did this guy, and to be fair, I was doing it blind. I couldn't see what I was doing. He was so dark. But after a couple of sessions, I managed to change the colour of his scalp to make it look like he got a hairline. And I did in 3 sessions. And it came to the end, and my friend who'd arranged it for me said to him, says, "Look in the mirror," he says, "Are you happy with it?" And the guy was like, I can't complain too much. I can't complain too much. He goes, "How much do I owe you?" So I said, "Brother, it's free. We've done this for free. You've helped us." "Oh, I am so happy. I'm so happy." He would change like that. He was so happy, though, because thank you. So it was a funny one, and I always remember it. But
that's great. And so did you, Alex? So you're saying that you saw. I'm also a big fan of the ScalpTest as well. He's a fucking beast. And I've messaged him all the time. I talk to him. I'm trying to. He's going to come on the podcast eventually. He's got some things going on. But
No doubt.
I mean, there's a lot of amazing UK artists, including you. So first, I just want to double back. So with your to your personal life, if that's okay. So your brother had passed away. How did that happen?
Yeah. So he'd gone to Holland, and he was with a lot of friends. He were at university, and one night I think they'd been for a party, and one of his friends wanted a lift to the train station. So he got on a scooter and he took his friend to the train station. And while they were waiting for the train, they were both having a on the track. But my brother, I don't know, I've only got the guy's obviously story, but he was trying to cross over the track, and I couldn't get my head around it or understand how it had happened at the time. But the train came, it was pitch black, and when the train came past me, it took him out. And when we went to Holland, obviously to bring his body home, we went to the station. It was like a blind bend where the train comes round. Quite obviously a long bend, but you know, as they come, you'd stand on the platform and you'd see the train come around the corner, but you wouldn't hear it until it went, you know, going past you. So apparently, he had one leg up on this platform trying to climb up at the time. The train just got him, and it was instant, you know.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, obviously, it was a long time ago, and it was 2003, so longer than he's been alive. He died when he was 18, so he, obviously, time's a healer. Everybody says time's a healer, but you still obviously, you still worry about your own kids. And another mad story is my brother was born on the 9th of November, and he died on the 16th of May. And when we found out my girlfriend was pregnant with my son, the scan date was on 16th of May. And I thought, oh, that's a bit funny. We're having a scan day on my brother's anniversary when he's died. And they give us the due date, 13th of November, what were just a few days after the 9th. And I thought, if he comes on the 9th, that's just going to be too weird. And as the pregnancy went, it ended up being breech, my son. So they said, you can have a cesarean, you need to have a cesarean, you can have the 9th of November, the 10th of November. So I picked the 10th. I said, I want the 10th, because obviously I just didn't want history to repeat itself. I'm not superstitious, but you know, it was so raw and it was so much of a coincidence. I just said, we'll take the 10th. And on the 9th, she just went to labour. We had to rush her in. So my son was born on the exact same day as my brother was born.
Holy shit.
We had the scan day, exactly. It's unbelievable. The scan day on the same day as my brother died, and the birthday on the same day as my brother was born.
That is wild. That is so crazy.
It's insane. My brother was called Mike. I've called my son Leo Michael, so it's his name, Leo Michael. There's so many traits what I see in him from my brother. It's crazy. My girlfriend never got the chance to meet my brother because he died before I met her. But if she did ever meet him, and she'd know exactly what. And I feel like I can see him more in my kids than I see myself. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is wild. About your brother's, you know, your brother dies and his birthday, and then your kid is born on your brother's birthday. Now, is he older or younger?
My brother, he was 6 years younger than me. That's why I used to be able to cut his hair when he was a kid. We used to get home from school before my mum got home from work. So I had my own clippers, so I used to just deal with his hair. And like I said, that's where the whole barber came into it.
Okay.
It's a crazy thing, but it's a beautiful thing as well, because my mum, I've seen how my mum's gone through losing a son, and I can't even imagine how it'd be to lose my son. It worries me, and as soon as I think about it, I have to switch off quick time. I have to quickly get that thought out of my head. But
I know
now,
exactly what you mean with that.
yeah,
And you said something that I've thought about. You said time heals
it's a healer.
everything, or time is the best healer.
Yeah.
And to me, time, because my grandmother died 11 years ago, right? And so in the beginning, it was very terrible, but now I can talk about it the way you could talk about your brother. But you can get caught up in moments where, if you really think about it, it'll make you upset. And
100%.
sometimes it's like, I don't want to think about it because I don't want to be sad. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's just how I deal with it. I you know,
Well,
it's not
yeah, I understand.
good.
When we were young kids, obviously we spent all of our time together. And then in the last few years of his life, when he moved to Holland, I didn't see him as much. So I actually felt closer to him after we lost him than I did in the last couple of years and not seeing him, if that makes sense. You know,
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
more with me now. And if I have any problems or any doubts, I'll always ask him. My mum don't have to suffer on my brother's birthday as much because she's got a grandson, Leo. So she comes and
Uh,
it's a celebration for his birth, you know. So it's a nice thing in that way. And another mad thing, when my son was a baby, before he could talk, before he had any kind of conscious feelings of his own, we put him in his own room, and you'd be sat downstairs and you'd hear him like wild laughing, and you'd think, like, what's going on? Why is he laughing like that? He's too young. Why would he be laughing like that? And my mum went to see a spiritualist, and they told her that my brother sits on my son's bed at night and plays with him. And how mad is that?
that's very cool. That's very
You
cool.
know?
Yeah. Hey, it's
So
possible. It's definitely possible.
he's protecting us. He's protecting me 100%. There's certain things that have happened in my life where I shouldn't have got away with it. There's no way I should have got away with the things I've got away with. And I feel like it's because of him, and he's helped.
He's watching over you.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
So, yeah, I'm sorry about your brother, but I'm glad you were able to
Yeah.
find some good in all of that. In regards to now, into the SMP stuff, because you've had a wild story. Did
Yeah.
you ever end up taking a full-on class? You said you had enough money to get it done, but did you ever end up training with someone, like
No,
one-on-one,
so
or what?
I put literally, I put my money into getting it done, the little money that I had. And the guy, Nick, what showed me the dots, said to me, you don't actually need training. You know, he said, you need to get them heads. And he's right and he's wrong, because I've never had fundamentals. But in a way, Joey, I feel like that's a blessing, because I was getting the melons and the bananas, and I was doing so much practice on them that it became that I weren't doing just dots on bananas anymore. I was making it look like hair, you know, like realistic. And I know when I post my Instagram pictures, I need to get a better camera. But my dots look big. Some of them I feel like I don't even want to post them because they do look big. I've even had people in my comments saying it looks like a million blowouts to me. And I just have to take it on chin and say, yeah, I see what you're saying, but I'll take that on board and I'll try and get a better camera, and I'll show you my session and try and show you that it doesn't look like as bad as it looks. But I've got a phobia of big dots. Ever since I did the blowouts on myself, it's given me the biggest phobia about big dots. So I'll use 04s, I'll use the smallest needles, and I'll make sure that the dots look not like, I don't call them dots, they look like hair. Make the impressions look exactly like little hairs. And people are amazed when they see it. I never say the photos do it justice. I've got a couple of videos where my camera's performed how I wanted it to perform, and you can kind of see, but 90% of the time, I don't feel like my photos are doing my work justice. Every client that I get is normally a referral from somebody in another client, and you know that speaks wonders, because they wouldn't do it if they didn't like what you were doing.
Well, that's the best thing, is a referral is the best way to get customers.
Exactly.
That means, one, the person likes it. Two, they're referring you because they like it that much, and they trust that person, right? That's great.
Yeah,
that's exactly what you want. Yeah. So, but I know what you mean in regards to pictures. You can do an amazing procedure and it looks great in person, but sometimes you're taking the picture and it just doesn't do it justice, or it looks crazy, or the lighting's not good, or there's a shadow.
Yeah.
It's I get very frustrated, to be honest, about it.
In my early days, where I'm sat now, I'll show you, there's a white wall. I used to sit people here, put my ring light on, and I'd get decent pictures. One of my friends is a photographer, and he came and he says, look, he's got love for me, wanted to help me. And he says, you need to make your pictures on point. Obviously, your pictures are selling point. And he showed me some little tips and techniques to make my pictures look nicer. And it really helped me. The pictures are obviously your main selling point, aren't they?
I mean, it's that's what's going to bring in people a lot, most of the time.
Yeah.
But because people want to see, what does the person look like before? What do they look like after? You know, that's the number one question, right? And especially if you can get someone with a similar skin tone or hair color, that's really what they want. I've talked to a lot of people in UK and different countries, and they say that, because they call like a hard straight line edge up, they call it an American hairline. Is that what you guys call it? Is that, or do you call it straight line edge up?
I don't personally call it that, because obviously I've come from a background. So to me, it's just a shape up. It's a cultural thing. Even white friends that I've got carry off this barbershop hairline. It's obviously age concerning. Yeah, if they're too old, I won't put it on them. But depending on the person's look and the persona and how they carry themselves, as long as you're executing it correctly, it can be carried off. So even with a hard edge up, if you break it up a little bit, it looks phenomenal. And I'm obviously a barber at heart, so I like to see them, but I do really like when I get somebody what comes in and asks for a natural one. A lot of my friends are from a similar background to me, so they like to look good and they like the barber hairline, regardless of the race. So I have a lot of barbers ones, but when I do get the older clients coming in saying they want it to look natural, I do enjoy doing the natural.
And you're good at it. I've seen your work, and that's what I was kind of asking. So it looks like people in the UK, if I was in the UK, I was like, hey, this guy does, a straight line edge up. He's probably a former barber. I would probably want to go to you because it seems you're executing it very well. You know what I mean? And I don't see a lot of people in the UK really doing it, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I do get that, saying that they like that style. I do get a lot of people wanting a natural one as well. When I originally went for I'll show you mine. I did my own hairline, because when I went to the company, they give me the most terrible hairline that I'd ever seen, and it weren't for me. So I had to say, give me the pencil, I want it, And
I love when people do that. When people come in to me and they draw their hairline, I'm like, you just made my job easier, because sometimes drawing the hairline's a pain in the ass. So
I've never ever had anybody draw their own hairline, I'll be honest with you. And if they did, I'd still have to vet it and say I agree with you.
Yeah, you make some tweaks. You make some tweaks. But to me, it's like, at least
it would be nice, I suppose, if somebody, yourself, if somebody comes in and says, what I want this, and you can just deal with it. If somebody's not too confident and you have to kind of go light and break them in, and come back and get used to it and add to it. It is what it is. Like I said, I enjoy the whole process of it, and I love it when guys are not sure about it.
What is the, so you being basically self-taught, you're self-taught barber as well?
Yeah.
Self-taught barber, self-taught SMP artist for the most part. I mean, trial and error, you know. What was the hardest part for you to learn as a self-taught SMP artist?
You know, so I feel like I learned my mistakes on my own self, which was another blessing. So when I got my first clients, bar the first African black man that I couldn't even see what I was doing, the first white guy that I did, I just thought to myself, and this is advice to any new artist, I'd always tell them this: go light with your pigment, because you add to it, you can't take it away, obviously. And barbering vice versa, take a little bit, you can always take a little bit more. I teach that to my son. His little mannequin head, he's trimmed up tonight. You know, he's cut like this for a big long mannequin. He's give it a trim. But obviously you can always take more off. With SMP, you can always add to it. So as long as you're going light, even if you have to do 4 sessions, 5 sessions, you're still getting your practice in. So you can't go wrong if you follow them guidelines, in my opinion. And if you've got a little something about you where you can see somebody and picture where their hairline's going to be, is obviously just a bonus.
Agreed. I remember my first white guy that I worked on. You definitely start lighter, and I ended up doing 4, possibly 5 sessions. The 5th one months later. But yeah, it's better to do more sessions and go lighter than to do a smaller amount of sessions and go darker, and then it's looking all crazy.
I used to really enjoy having to do them extra sessions, Joey, because I used to think it's extra practice. I've never ever felt like it's a chore to do extra. And all the guys that I did at first, when I'd gone too light on them, I've invited them all back once I got better and said, look, come back, and I've dealt with them all. And I think that's the best way to go.
You hear that, people? If you've made it this far in the podcast, what Alex said is, if you're new, obviously you're not going to be as good as you are years in the future. So now your future self, invite those people, invite the first 20 people you worked on back and say, hey, I can clean that up. Maybe they only pay $100, or maybe you charge them a full $300, but you'll get a better picture. You clean it up, and you get more marketing material.
Made me remember what I was saying about taking pictures against this wall. So I do a client, I'd take a picture, and let him go away. And then I'd look at the pictures after, and I'd think, I should have done this, or I should have done that, or this angle's not right. So obviously now when I take pictures, I take 100 pictures from here, 100 pictures, and I take so many pictures. I go home and I pick the best ones. And I say to anybody what wants to learn, because I've got a phone full of people asking me if I do training, and I have helped a couple of local artists when I say your pictures are your selling point. So just take 100, take as many pictures as you can, and get them to move their head a little tiny bit, and pick your best ones. In the early days, I would have posted, but I won't post because there's a little tiny thing what I think I'm not happy with, I feel like I'm a perfectionist now.
I live by the statement Alex just said about taking hundreds of pictures. I'm actually a little embarrassed to tell you how many pictures I have on my phone. It's so astronomically insane that people think it's crazy, the amount of pictures I have on my phone. And I've gone too far to the point where I just have to buy a new phone with more memory. Like it's that bad. And like you were saying, if a stranger picked up my phone and found it, they were like, why has this guy got so many pictures of bald people?
This guy, weird. They'd be calling this guy gay. They'd say you're gay for sure.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Nothing that there's wrong with gay, because I've got gay friends.
I'd say 1 in 4 people who come in here is a gay
I feel
person.
like if I were gay, it'd be a lot easier, Joey, than not being gay these days, to be fair. Because I do get my fair share of problems with my woman.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
and I've heard it on podcasts when they say, obviously, the time and effort what we put in to creating these pictures, to creating the reels. I'm on a laptop now, which is my girlfriend's laptop, what she uses for work. I'm always on my phone. So she'll come in and say, "You're always on your phone. You're always on your phone." I explain, look, I'm not consuming content, I'm creating content. That's all I'm trying to do to better us.
Big difference. You know? Big difference.
100%, Joey. She knows. I know she knows deep down, but it still turns her off when she sees me on my phone every time she walks in a room. It's part of the job. That's what we have to do. Unless you've got somebody who can create content for you. But even if you have got somebody to create your content, it's not your content. You have to put your own stuff in it. I've paid certain people who've caught my attention. I get emails every day. We can do this, we can do that. And there's been a couple of guys, my type of guy, and I've given them a chance to read them. And the music and the things what they've put on my thing, it's just not been the DonDottaz anymore. So I can't deal with it. If it's not, I've got reels on my phone, what are good reels, but I can't find a tune to go with it, so I won't post it. You know, that's how meticulous I am.
I know all about that. I wait.
Finding a song to go with that person is the hardest thing. Sometimes you can find it like that, and other times I've got reels from 6 months ago. I can find the music to fit it, and if I can't, I won't post it.
I know exactly. I know exactly what you mean. I really do, and I agree with you in regards, because I do have someone who works on my content. She works for me part-time, but just because she makes content for me, I still have to create all of it, give it to her, tell her what to do, type it out. Like, it's a whole big thing. It's a whole big thing. Like, I have a big, like I told you, the reason I'm wearing this right now is because I was shooting a video. She's not in here today. And then in that video, I record it myself. I'll then tell her what to do, and then I'll type it all out. And then I sit with her afterwards. I say, change this, move this, slow this down, all that sort of thing. So it's a never ending content creation.
That's a job for you. That's a full-time job for you to try and help her do your job, which it shouldn't be like that.
She can do. It's just like you. I want to put my own spin on it, right? I want it to be. I like things a certain way. And it's just, sometimes I might be. I don't want to say I'm demanding, but I have a high expectations, high standards, and this is what I want. So that's what I'm going to do. And just like you said, I will go. I have pictures that I've never posted and reels that I've never posted, just because I feel like it's not what I want. It's like 80% there, but I was like, we're missing something.
I feel like I've got enough posts on there now, so I can probably delete some of my early posts. But at the same time, I'll leave them on there because I like people, especially new artists, they can see where I've come from, and they can see in a short space of time where I've progressed. And I'm a big believer in helping people. If I can do it, then I feel like anybody can do it. If they've got the passion and the drive,
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
Like I said, I believe in that. I love helping others. I get the most buzz out of somebody looking and seeing that hairline and just thinking, wow, look, I've got a hairline. I don't really get too many hits through my website. I don't pay for no Google ads or anything. To be fair, I don't really pay for too much marketing. And I listened to you guys. I listened to you earlier saying that you pay more for marketing than you do for your mortgage, which obviously I need to start. I just up my marketing. It's embarrassing to say how much I pay for my marketing because I pay peanuts.
Well, that's good. I'm jealous. I'm
Maybe
jealous,
if I
man. I
paid
wish I
more,
did.
yeah, I pay a little advert running on Facebook where I've got a black guy and a white guy to show that diversity, and I get so
You have
many
to show the
idiots
diversity.
texting me. I get the idiots texting me saying, "Oh, you can turn a man's black, or you can turn a black man into a white man," and it gets boring, and you just I can't understand why such a
What are they saying?
positive
Time out, time
procedure.
out. What are they saying? What are they saying?
Let me try and just get this ad up, what I've got for you, and I can show you. Can you see that?
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I can see
So
it.
it says now for the most natural results, and I've got a black guy and a white guy. And then
Okay.
in the comments, people are saying, how do you turn a white guy into a black guy? How do you turn a black guy into a white guy? You know, and I can't understand why. I can never understand why such a positive post can attract so many negative
Trolls,
people.
Alex. There's
Trust
trolls.
me.
They just sit there. They're bored. They're sitting at work. They're taking a shit, and they're just like, "I'm gonna fuck with this guy." You know what I mean? And I get it all the
Trust
time.
me.
And the terrible part is sometimes I don't see it, like a negative comment for 3 weeks, and it's been sitting there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Fuck," and I gotta go delete it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't
I
always
used to
check my
delete
Facebook.
them. I used to delete all the negative ones, but now I just try and be as professional as I can to answer that question, to make that person feel like they've probably done wrong,
Like an idiot.
you know. And I
Yeah,
get a lot of, and I get a lot of people liking my comment, the comeback I've come, and I feel like no matter whether it's good publicity or bad publicity, it's publicity. Isn't it? There's more people seeing it. There's more people commenting on it. So it can only be
Yes,
a good
sir.
thing in my book.
Agreed. No such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just don't feel like explaining it to the people. I'm scared that it could
I hear that.
it could put the wrong thought into a potential client's head if they see
Yeah.
somebody making a joke or something, like, because sometimes they're just making a joke, right?
Exactly. I like to make sure that every comment that I reply to answers a potential question what somebody could have. You know, so every one of my replies is giving more information to a potential client.
Alex, one of the opportunities I see for you, because your work is great, right? But I think, and this is just my opinion, take it or leave it. I think if you record you yourself talking more,
Yeah.
you'll get more people. You know, so that way they can connect. There's some pictures of you, but I just feel if it's even if it's just a picture of you working, or if it's just you talking, I feel like it'll bring you to another level.
Well, I appreciate that, Joey, and you know yourself. I've told you I'm not a good speaker. I don't like being on camera. Obviously, speaking this has been an icebreaker. I spoke to Chris Herrera tonight before I came on, and I said, Chris, in the next hour, I'm going to go on Joey's podcast. And I said, I'm having a couple of whiskeys before to calm myself. And I said, because you know I'm a shy kid. And he said, brother, just go in there and be yourself. And I said to him, I'm hoping that this, what we're doing now, breaks the ice and helps me to come out of the closet and obviously sell myself, you know. And I feel like it has done without you even editing it or posting it. I feel like it's worked wonders for me. And all the other times when you've said a date, I've made an excuse. But this time I just thought I'm deep, no matter what, you know.
I appreciate that. Hey, if you got to take a couple shots before you make a video, take a couple shots before you make the video and just do it.
I had a couple of shots. I poured a couple of whiskeys in there, and it's.
I love it. I wish I was drinking.
You know.
I wish if I ever come up there in person, we'll definitely have to have a drink together and do another one.
One of my brothers.
But in all honesty, I think your concern of wanting you know, you thinking you're not a good talker, you are a good talker. All you have to do is just write out what the video is beforehand. This is what I do. I'll tell you what I do. I write it out, and then I'll say it. Yeah, so exactly. You know what you need to say and just practice it. The best part about video editing is you can say it 15 times until you get one you like, and then just use that one part. You know what I mean?
Never practiced before we came on because I thought the more I practice, the more it's going to put me off. So I just wrote it down and I just thought I'll deal with it as we go. On the protein, real-time results. He sent me a client. He's doing so well on TikTok, you know. And I said, Victor, I appreciate it so much. I charged the client a little bit extra so I could send Victor some commission, you know, because that's just what I do. And when it comes to it, I said, Victor, I've just dealt with your guy. Send me PayPal details and I will send you obviously some commission. And he said, brother, you've earned that money. He said, I don't want anything from you, but when we meet, I want you to buy me a cigar and a drink. And I was like, damn, brother. I said, I don't know if I can afford them cigars what you smoke. Because he smokes some big cigars. But
I love that. That's very cool.
Convention soon, yeah.
Are you having a Blendz convention? When is that? And I want to say this. So shout out to Alex. So Alex, you are on the Blendz Pro team, right? So let's make sure we say that. You're on the Blendz Pro team. Everybody that I speak to from the Blendz Pro team has nothing but good things to say about DonDottaz, aka Alex. They really do. They say you're very helpful. You know, in the chat forums, and I guess you guys have a group chat or something like that. They're always saying that you're always positive, and they really enjoy having you on the team. I just wanted to let you know that.
That's beautiful. Like I said, the support that I get from those guys are unbelievable. And going back to buying Chris's machine and asking to bless it for me, this is an amazing thing. Obviously, he's got a quarter of a million followers. He don't know who's messaging him if he don't know him. So I'm thinking this guy knows me now. I bought his machine and I've asked him to bless it, and he sent me a video of him blessing it, so he knows who I am. A year's gone down the line and me using his machine, and he's contacted me saying, you know, brother, I like your work. You're in the UK. I'm looking for somebody out there. Would you be interested in? And I've caught up with Chris and I've joined the pro team. And a couple of months down the line, I've reminded him and I've sent him a video, and I've just sent it him, and he's looked at the video and he's like, damn, DonDottaz. I never knew that was you. I can't believe that was you. A year after, look at this, and really, it was unbelievable, you know. So the blessing that he gave me actually did work, because a year down the line, I'm on his pro team.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you also, and are you also a distributor out of the UK for people overseas?
Yes. One night, I used to lay in bed, the dots, the textures every night in my dreams. I fell asleep and I dreamed that I wanted to buy Chris's stuff from America, but the import tax and the shipping, you know, I was using Icon Pro needles at the time. They were the best needles what I had used at the time. I was getting through quite a few of them, but they were sharp. I was buying a lot of them. And one day I seen on the Icon's website, they posted a picture of Chris's work or SMP'S work and made out as if it were Icon's work. So I commented underneath that saying, Blendz and everything, the most natural results in the world. And they blocked me. Icon blocked me after all them sets of needles and pigment that I bought from them. They blocked me. So I took that personally, obviously, and I stopped using their products. And now, so this is an old box. We've got the new boxes now, but I've still got quite a few of these to get rid of.
Oh, he did get new boxes? I didn't know that.
He's got they're up at my studio. I wish I had a new one to show you, but it's unbelievable, the new box. But I had a dream, and I text Chris when I woke up, that profound, the dream. And I said, I've had a dream that I'm the UK distributor for your products, because people want to try them, but they don't want to pay the shipping and the import tax. So if I be the distributor, it cuts out the middleman, and obviously I've got time on my hands. I'm not working anymore. I'm not that busy with clients. It'd be an honour. And he kind of just replied saying, yeah, bro. And then months down the line, obviously, once I got into the pro team, it came full circle again. And I reminded him of that again when he'd said, would you like to be the supplier? And I said, Chris, do you actually remember when and he said, I can't believe what you're showing me. He thought he didn't know who I were. And it just happened. So now, obviously, I buy bulk. He sends me bulk. He sends me so many gifts. I can't thank him enough. We've got the best needles in the world. We've got anti-shine cream. I think you've tried that yourself, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I got all.
If I'm going on, if I'm going on a special occasion, we've got the new Blendz mixing solution, which is obviously then distilled water.
Okay.
For retention. And obviously we've got the Royal set, the Blendz Rich Black, the Neutralizer, brown. I won't use black for anybody what's got any kind of brown in the beard or in the eyebrows. I'll never use black, always brown. When I use a ginger client, I find that if I use brown and add the neutralizer to it, the results are just phenomenal.
Really?
You know, it gives it, obviously, yeah, the neutralizer, obviously, it's got orange. I don't know if you can really see it on there, but it's
we can
like
see it. Yeah, I use a neutralizer as well. You got to use neutralizer.
Trust me, that mixed in with a brown is a game changer. And I've had guys see the ginger clients and say, we never realised that ginger clients could have this procedure done. And I've had quite a few ginger clients contact me lately saying, bro, the results, what we've seen and that tone, we never realised we could have it and we want it. So that's phenomenal. He sent me this new Blendz ink mixer, which before I was using a little cocktail stick to mix. This is just a game changer.
Oh yeah.
And we've got the Lux shampoo and body wash. And this...
Oh, I didn't even know he had that.
Bro, this is especially for SMP procedures to keep looking fresh. And you know, when you spray this on your scalp in the shower, it smells like success. It smells like money. I feel like if you're using that, 100% you're going to get rich. That bottle there is going to make you rich.
I love it.
And the Blendz foam, what can I say about that? That smells incredible. And
makes a cool video too.
Trust me. And the art of SMP machine, say less. That's the smoothest machine.
You turn it on?
You can turn it on. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
You can put that down on the table, look. That's on the table now, look. That's actually...
Yeah, you can barely hear it. You can barely hear it.
It's so smooth. And it hits hard as well. And obviously plug it in. So that's on the size that it'd be if it were cordless. I've never used a cordless machine. I only ever use the wireless ones. But he's absolutely killed it.
Well, congratulations to you, Alex, for being the UK distributor. That's got to be a good feeling as well, because his brand really is, Chris's brand is growing big time.
I ship it this morning. What day are we on today? What day are we on, Joey? I forgot.
Tuesday.
I think it's Tuesday.
Yeah,
this
Tuesday.
morning I've shipped out to Estonia this morning, Italy. Yes, a couple of weeks ago, a guy in Afghanistan wanted something. You cannot ship anything to Afghanistan from the UK. They won't let you. So I had to ship to Turkey, a guy from Turkey to ship him to go out to Afghanistan. It's amazing. Obviously, Chris has taken care of your side.
That's pretty cool. I wouldn't even think you're allowed to do SMP in Afghanistan because they're so strict with the religious
Dubai,
rules, you know.
Yeah, the same in Dubai. I've got a couple of in Dubai. What a good artist. What are saying that obviously do not put on the shipping that it's needles for SMP, because anytime you ship anything abroad, you're supposed to put down what you're doing and in the package.
Yeah.
I've had a few packages opened up at customs and they tear through everything, and I make sure that I wrap everything and pack it so clean and nice and tight, and then you receive it back a couple of weeks later and it's just tore open. And I just think, what's that about? You know, if you're going to open my package, at least have respect to pack it back up like you found it. They don't care.
Nah.
It's a nice feeling to know that so many people in the world are obviously recognizing just how good Blendz is.
Yeah, for real. And that's great. So, Alex, what is your social media, social medias that you're on and your website?
So everything I've got, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it's all just DonDottaz. My website is DonDottaz.co.uk, or you can just Google DonDottaz. It's simple. So I've just kept it the same on every platform.
I Googled you. You came right up.
Brilliant, Joey.
Because I needed to see. I always check everybody's website before they come on. Yours is good. You're doing good. Yeah. We're gonna wrap this up. It's been an hour and a half. All right.
I know, brother. Do you know what? I was scared that we were going to.
You did great. You did great.
I was looking at other people's thinking they've lasted 40 minutes, 50 minutes. I hope I can last 30 minutes, and man's have gone to half.
Oh, you've exceeded. You've exceeded. Hey, everyone, make sure if you've made it this far, make sure you check out Alex, DonDottaz on Instagram. Check out his TikTok and his website. And if you're in the UK or in the surrounding area, definitely hit him up.